afternoon. Welcome to the Grow with Google Digital Coaches training for August. This is our second training for the Pittsburgh coach, which is me. I'll introduce myself shortly. Thank you all for coming in on a Friday afternoon. I appreciate you all for joining us on a Friday afternoon. Welcome to Coaching Your Team to Success and Scaling a Service-Based Business. So today you are in for a treat. We have an amazing two-part presentation for you all. For the first portion of this class, I am going to be teaching you coaching your team to success. This is the entrepreneur edition. So even if you do not have a team yet, I definitely want you to stay engaged and take plenty of notes because you may be able to start building your team sooner than you think. And your team can consist of interns, contractors, part-time employees, full-time employees. I mean, anyone that you would manage that would be helping you with your business definitely counts as a part of your team. And I know as a business owner, like many of you, the first time I brought on a team member, it was terrifying. And so now that I'm actively building and growing it, a lot of the things that we're going to cover today are just so important and so relevant. Once I finish up the Coaching Your Team for Success, we're going to have a fireside chat on scaling a service-based business. So like I said, it is a Friday, so I don't want to hold you all too long. I am going to jump into it. If you are active on social media, feel free to shout us out on Instagram. We are at Digital Coaches Program, and I encourage you to follow that Instagram handle as well. There you can keep up with the Grow with Google Digital Coaches Program on a nationwide basis and see what we have going on. You can also connect with me if you so choose on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. My name is Kyshira. If this is your first time here, I serve as the Pittsburgh Grow with Google Digital Coach. I am based in the Pittsburgh region. And as a digital coach, I host monthly trainings on digital skills topics for entrepreneurs with the goal of helping them to grow and scale their businesses. Outside of the digital coach's role, I am a full-time business owner like many of you. And my business is called The Power Collective, and I'm a business coach. So I spend my days on video meetings just like this, helping business owners with their marketing and social media strategy. So that's a little bit about me. And again, we love and encourage social media here. So if you learn anything, you are inspired by anything, definitely tag at Digital Coaches Program on social media. Also want to shout out our speaker for today. Her name is Mrs. Bianca Robinson. She is at Bianca S. Robinson on Instagram and Cayden Cay Consulting over on Facebook. Her website is here on the screen. I encourage you to follow her, check her out. She does amazing trainings on Facebook and Instagram. You will be hearing from her on scaling your service-based business in the second half of this session. As I go through the training, I encourage you to drop questions in the chat. If I miss it, my project manager is here in the chat and she is going to make sure that I get all of your questions. So definitely drop any questions you have throughout the chat. This is not the kind of session where you need to wait till the end. But one quick housekeeping rule, you do have to stay on mute for the duration of the session. Once we get to Bianca's portion and we open up for Q&A, we will invite you to come off of mute to ask any questions you have. But before then, please stay on mute. However, you can have your camera on if you'd like. We love seeing your faces here. So we're going to go ahead and transition. So let me know in the chat, does anyone know what the number 65 represents as relates to startups and entrepreneurship? So the number 65%, what do you think that represents? Let us know in the chat. Shannon says fail. You're actually right on the money, but it's even deeper than that. So this number, 65%, represents the number of startups that fail because of people-related issues. So where this came from is a survey that was conducted by venture capitalists where they attributed 65% of the failures within their portfolios to people issues, compared to the 35% that were due to product issues, market issues, or functional issues. And essentially what's happening is many startups are thinking about their people and their HR after the product and marketing strategy. But in actuality, this could not be more important, especially if you are thinking about scaling. This stuff really does matter. Nothing is more important than the people you decide to bring on your team, that you contract to, that are going to help you with accomplishing your dream. You can have the most brilliant business idea, but if you don't have the right team in place, you may experience some difficulties. So our agenda today, we have three core learning objectives before we get to our fireside chat. And the first is to understand what makes a great manager based on the attributes and behaviors that Google found in their internal research. And I know when we think about this word manager, I don't know about you all, but it gives me flashbacks to corporate America, my time working full time. I also worked for some time in higher education. And I will admit, when I left my full time job to be in business, I never thought I'd have to think about management or leadership again, and I've been rudely awakened. So we're going to talk today about what it means to be a great manager. Then we'll talk about what it means to be a good coach for your team and understand when to direct, when to mentor, and when to coach your employees. We'll get we won't have time for hands-on coaching practice, but the tactics and techniques that we'll give you today, you can actually practice with your team. Lastly, we'll help you understand how to provide meaningful and developmental feedback back to your team. And the idea here is to maximize your potential performance in their development. So we're going to talk about the 10 attributes of good managers. And I encourage you to jot down notes as we go through this. And so again, when you hear the word management, it can be somewhat controversial. It's something that sounds unappealing or boring. But at Google, we've come to realize that your manager is one of the strongest indicators for staying at a company or leaving. And let us know in the chat, have you ever been in a situation where you've had an amazing manager and that kept you somewhere longer than you planned? Or have you had a not so amazing manager and you ended up leaving before you planned on? What does this mean for all of you? That there are some basic things, many of which I'm sure you're already really doing and really great at, that we can continue to build on to be really great managers for our team. So the first one is creating an inclusive environment, right? So are you modeling a respectful and inclusive environment? Are you encouraging everyone to show up as their true, authentic selves? And are you supporting your team in the good and in the bad? And so really thinking about, I'm sure all of you are definitely creating inclusive environments. I know for me, inclusion is actually one of my company values. We're really big on inclusion and respect on my team. The next is empowering your team and not micromanaging. So let us know in the chat, are you a micromanager? This is a safe space, so you can confess if you are a micromanager, but are you involved in every nitty-gritty detail your team makes, or do they feel empowered to make their own decisions, take their own risk, and innovate on their own? I personally am not a micromanager, but I really struggled with actually giving my team things to do versus feeling like I had to do it all myself and just be super ingrained in those details. Next is supporting career development and discussing performance. So are you communicating the performance expectations that you have clearly to your team? This is a big one, because even if maybe you have a team of part-time employees or contractors where there may not be career next steps right now, it is still important to have performance management conversations and to really communicate what you expect from your team and how they can show up in the best way possible. The next is to be a good coach. Are you providing specific feedback and asking good questions to help your team find solutions and also explore options? Are you having regular one-on-ones with your team and giving them feedback and coaching? Number 5 is being a good communicator. Are you essentially encouraging, open dialogue on the team? Are you responsive to your team when they ask you questions? Are you transparent? Are you creating an environment where your team feels comfortable voicing any concerns that they may have? The next is having a clear vision and strategy for your team. This is especially important for startups and small businesses, as people who join you will likely also be joining the vision you have for your company. So do you have a compelling vision and strategy that motivates and inspires your team? And also, are you clearly even communicating that vision? A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have a very clear vision ourselves, but we don't communicate that with those that are helping us build that vision. So then the next is be productive and being results oriented. So are you able to translate your vision and strategy into tangible goals and key performance indicators? And are you clear about who's responsible for which results and which goals? Are you structuring your team and allocating your resources appropriately? And this is really good if you haven't started to build a team yet, because a lot of times when we get ready to make our first hire, we give them a lot of busy work, and then we start to regret the hire because we feel like they're not really contributing, but it's not their fault. It's technically ours because we didn't really think strategically about the results we wanted that hire to drive for the business. The next is collaborate. Are you modeling the collaboration across all parts of your team? Are you holding your team accountable for upholding your values? And are you contributing to your company's culture by working across functions and locations if you have a multi-location business? Being a strong decision maker, are you able to make tough decisions efficiently in a way that's good for your company? And are you communicating those decisions to your team when the time is right? And then the last one to think about is have key technical skills to advise the team. So, are you able and willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work alongside your team? Do you understand the challenges and complexities of the work that they are doing? So, one thing I always tell my clients is whenever they're getting ready to outsource something, I'm all about it, but I tell them and know enough about what they're doing so that you can actually provide guidance on what results you're looking for. Because if you don't understand the work that they're doing, you can't really assess if the work is actually what you're looking for. For the purposes of today's session, we're really going to spend time here focusing on what it means to be a good coach. So feel free, if you're comfortable, let us know in the chat, what is coaching to you and how do you define it? So when we think about coaching at Google, coaching is honestly a mindset. It's a way of being, it's a way of relating, and it's a way of connecting. Coaching is all about unlocking someone's potential. And this is really huge for you as a founder and business owner because eventually coaching will help you to free up your time, empower your team, and essentially up level your entire company. This is like the old adage, you can either catch a fish for someone, or you can teach them how to catch their own fish. And coaching is investing the time with someone to help them learn how to fish. So to give you an example of what that means, it's basically empowering your team to solve problems. Instead of having to come to you for every single thing, they feel confident to actually look for answers on their own. So, as a people manager and leader, one of the most difficult things is knowing when and how to coach. And you're asked to do a lot. You have to teach your people, train your people, mentor your people, and coach your people. And you have to be flexible enough where when you approach these circumstances in your team, you're able to discern which one you need to do. And of course, there are many times when you'll still have to be directive, right? You have to tell someone exactly what to do or exactly how to do something. But the more time you spend on the right side of this continuum here on the screen, the more you'll be able to free up yourself and empower your team and then maximize the potential of everyone that you work with. Coaching is all the way on the right side of this continuum because it's about the individual or the employee that you're working with. It's about their ideas, their development, and the knowledge about their experience and things like that. So this is a chance for you to step outside of yourself, take the pressure off, and simply focus on the person that you're coaching. So how can you begin today? If this were an in-person workshop, we'd actually have some coaching exercises that you could do with each other. But since it's virtual, you could just kind of take note and think about how can you start to apply these things immediately with your own team. So the idea is not for you all to go out and become certified coaches unless you want to. The idea is that you become more coach-like in your approach with your team, your employees, and maybe even people in your personal life. The true foundation of being a good coach is good listening and good asking. Very basic skills, which I'm sure you're all fairly good at already, but we'll delve into the different ways to show up, truly listen, see your team, and to be curious in your asking of good open-ended questions. So when we think about good listening, simply put, we all know what it means to be an active listener. And I'm sure we can all tell when somebody isn't listening to us. So when we think about being an active listener, when it comes to body language, are you tilting your body towards the person that you're talking to? Are you nodding? Are you making eye contact? But did you know that there are 3 different levels of listening that can indicate where your focus is in the conversation? So level 1 is really internal listening. And we've all done this. We've all been on the receiving end of this kind of listening where someone is talking to you and you're nodding and saying, yeah, of course, right. But in your head, you're reviewing your grocery list, remembering if you left food out for your pet, planning what you'll eat for dinner. This is really passive attention. You're stuck in your own head and really disengaged from the person that you're actually speaking with, okay? And then level two is focused and factual speaking. Okay. So this is like two people on a date in a restaurant where everything around them disappears. They are truly lost in conversation and they're so engaged with one another. Their focus is on facts, words, objects. And then level three is what we call whole body listening. This really focuses on bringing empathy into the conversation. You're, of course, engaged in what the person is saying, but you're also engaged in everything that's happening around you, the environment, the values, the stories, the feelings, and you're truly suspending your own judgment. So when we're thinking about where we should be in a coaching relationship and in a coaching conversation, we definitely want to tap into levels 2 and level 3. It's human nature to slip into that level 1, but when you catch yourself doing it, you always want to bring yourself back front and center so that you can actually take in what the other person is saying to you. Then once you've finished your active listening, you then want to transition into really good asking. And so coaching has so much to do with asking good questions. If you're a coach in your business, let us know in the chat box so you can echo this sentiment. But I know as a coach that my biggest responsibility is really asking the best questions I can to pull answers out of the client, right? And so we want to avoid yes or no questions in coaching, and instead we want to ask open-ended questions so that we can have greater discovery and learning with the coachee. So a really great tip for you when you're in a coaching conversation or trying to coach your employee is to ask yourself, am I asking this question for my own information gathering or for my client's discovery? If you ever asked the question just to gather information on the topic at hand, you may not want to ask it. You truly don't need to know anything about the topic when you're coaching. Oftentimes, knowing more makes it more difficult for you to remain unbiased and to not just simply give your advice and insight. The best types of questions to ask are what and how questions. Those are absolutely the best questions. Who, when, and where questions can be useful, but they are usually more informative and factual based. We want to steer clear away from why questions because they can often cause the person you're talking to get defensive. And after I started to study coaching methodology, I've even started to eliminate this from my personal life because I know people can get really, really defensive and it can change the tone of a conversation. So a really great alternative instead of why is how come. So a really great acronym to ensure that you're practicing active listening is called WAIT. WAIT stands for Why Am I Talking? This is a great acronym to keep in mind when coaching. Of course, asking powerful questions is really important, but you as the coach should really only be talking 20% of the time at most. So try to bottom line, ask simple questions, ask open-ended questions, and then step back. Silence is okay. If there is silence, it means you've typically asked a thought-provoking question and you don't have to feel the desire to feel the silence. Give the person that you're speaking with the time to formulate their response. So good coaching in 3 questions. So these are really good to jot down if you're thinking about where should I start with practicing asking my coaching questions. So the first is asking what's happening. This is all about establishing the current state. Coaching is present and future focused. So this basically means that you're bringing the coachee into the present moment so they can understand exactly what's happening now. Then another good question to ask is what's most important? And this is great to get an understanding of what's important to the person you're speaking to, where do they want to go, and establish the ideal future state. And then the last question is, how do you get there? This is about laying the groundwork and having the person you're speaking with understand how to take the steps to move towards their ideal future state. Once again, in this place, be careful to not advise right away or tell them what to do. Let's put it in their hands. Good coaching is based on the foundational belief that people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And I know that may sound a little woo-woo, but what it really means is that every person you're working with, it has the solutions and ideas inside of them. And so when you're coaching, your job is merely to help them uncover those solutions. So we want to touch on something that we call the GROW model, okay? And the GROW model was developed by Graham Alexander. I don't know why I said Alexander Graham, Alan Fine, and Sir John Whitmore. And this is a really great model to use when coaching. And this will help you to understand basic coaching framework when you're working with your team. And GROW stands for goal, reality, options, and will. And these will aid in the natural evolution of the coaching relationship. The key here is to not rush the will or the action piece, okay? Coaching is all about discovery. You should really spend 90% of your time in the goal, reality, and option space. Really honestly focusing on goal and reality, because it's rare for people to actually explore these things out loud, to talk about their dreams and to then explore what they need to do to actually get towards those things. And that's what coaching is all about. It's a human tendency to try to just put a band-aid on things and rush towards a solution. But if you free yourself from this urge, you can really help your team to explore and grow on their own. So here's some example questions from the GROW model. I am not going to walk through this whole thing. Instead, you can take a photo of it or a screenshot. This is an area I want to work on. Is there a coaching program that you would recommend? Off the top of my head, no, but shoot me an email and let me know what specifically you're looking for, because I'm thinking that I can recommend some books to you to get started. Coaching programs are not all created equal, so I would be hesitant to recommend a specific program, but one book for everyone on the call that I've been reading is called The Question Behind the Question. And that's a really good coaching book around asking good questions. Then another book is called Coactive Coaching. That's another one that I've been reading that's really good. I would actually start with books on this matter before getting into a coaching program about coaching. So I hope that you all were able to get the screenshot just now as I answered that question, but I want to transition so that I can quickly get to our fireside chat. So let's talk about growth through feedback. So one thing that I've been working on in my coaching studies, because I'm really good with giving feedback to my clients, but I struggled with giving feedback to my team. Admittedly, I'm just going to be honest with you. I struggle with giving people constructive feedback. So I've definitely had to spend some time working on this, and I want to share some tips with you. So we've all been given feedback, right? We've all have received it, and we've all given it in some form or another. And we cognitively know that feedback is a positive thing, right? It's meant to help us grow and develop. Yet when someone says those words, I have some feedback for you, it can often be a fear-inducing phrase. So our goal today is to help you begin to see what a gift feedback is, and then begin to give that gift to your team on a regular, consistent basis. So when you're giving feedback, keep in mind that you don't want to pile on a bunch of constructive feedback. It's important to always acknowledge what someone is doing well. We also want to avoid sandwiching feedback where we say one good thing, one bad thing, one good thing. People see right through that. We actually recommend here at Google that you give a ratio of constructive and positive feedback of 5-to-1. That means you should be acknowledging your team's performance when you see good things and say so. And of course, when there's an opportunity to give them constructive feedback, always do so. So we're going to review a framework for delivering feedback and help you understand the best time and place to deliver this feedback to your team for maximum impact, okay? So feedback and how to say it. So here is the SBI formula for feedback. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So have you ever heard that old adage that, of course, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Well, that approaches everything when it comes to feedback. If you deliver feedback in an ineffective way, it could have a negative impact on the morale of your team, their development, their trust in you, and their commitment to your company. So this is where your approach really matters. You want to find a style of feedback that works for you. But here is a framework that we recommend to ensure that your feedback is action-oriented, is grounded, and is aimed in developing and not criticizing. So your feedback should always start with the situation. Exactly when did you see this happening? Avoid generalizations, be specific. Try to avoid you always, right? Things like that. Then move to behavior. What did you observe specifically? What did they do? What did they say? Lastly, and most importantly, is the impact. What's the impact of the behavior? Or in other words, what's the purpose of providing this feedback? Once you move through this framework, you can work with the employee to clarify any questions, create options, and then agree on the next steps for implementation. So here on the screen, we have a couple of examples for you to illustrate this. This is really good to go ahead and screenshot as well, so that you can remember to do this. So an example of giving some developmental feedback could be the situation. Hey, you presented the proposal to our director, but the behavior we noticed that you presented everything and held all questions till the end. And the impact, I noticed our director didn't seem happy to have to wait, right? And so from that, the employee could really pull out that the constructive piece is next time you deliver a proposal, make sure that you give people time to interject and ask questions earlier. And then the SBI formula also works for positive feedback, right? So the situation was at our investor meeting earlier, the behavior is you balance sharing our ideas with hearing from them nicely, and the impact, the investor told me that they thought that we clearly understood their desire. So this works for both constructive and positive feedback. So a quick summary of what we've covered but thus far. With this coaching model, we found that it really works at Google. And the most important thing is that you're giving consistent, timely, and actionable feedback to your team on a consistent basis. This should not be something that you're only doing during performance reviews or the end of their contract, but something that you're doing consistently and regularly and as a part of your team culture. Okay, so to quickly recap what we've learned today before we get into our fireside chat, and just a quick cue to Bianca, start getting ready. So what we've covered is we learned about the attributes that make up a good people manager. You talked through those 10 attributes to notate and really thinking about how are you illustrating these things regularly. We then focused on what it means to be a good coach and how to leverage the GROW model to not only ask good questions, but to be an active listener. And then we talked about how to give feedback to your employees, your team, and anyone a part of your startup using the SBI formula. So I know someone asked about group coaching earlier in our call, or private coaching earlier in our call. And so if you've been on our last webinars, you've heard this before, but if you are new, Google is actually offering free virtual one-on-one coaching with a Google expert. So you can take a screenshot of this slide, because these individual URLs are where you would go to register for those coaching experiences. So right now, they are currently offering coaching in Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google My Business, and Google Productivity Tools. If you are interested in private support in any of these areas, you can visit the link on the screen to get signed up. And so right now, I've been told that there is availability for this. So if you head over to those, you can get signed up, and of course, we'll send you an email after the session with these links as well. So wanted to go ahead and plug those. And then of course, make sure you fill out our survey. You will get an email after this workshop with a link to our survey to complete that. And the surveys help us to continue to build out new curriculum and new training for you all. With that, I want to go ahead and invite up our speaker for the day, Bianca Robinson. I am so excited. Again, make sure you all are shouting her out on social media as we get ready to go through this training. And with that, Bianca, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm super excited.
Me too. You know, I love hearing you speak. So I am selfishly like, I wrote my own questions for this, you guys. So I am dominating this conversation, okay? So Bianca, kick us off by telling us about yourself, about your company, just introducing your brilliance to the team.
So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know you could have been someplace else, but you're here with us. And so I want to thank you for that. And so for me, my name is Bianca Shelley Robinson. I am a global project manager and a business growth strategist. I'm in the business of aligning strategic opportunities for my clients that will produce profitable results. I'm all about having your bank account reflect your work ethic, but the only way we can do that is by focusing on money generating activities. I strongly believe that if we have the right processes in our business, our productivity will increase. And when processes and productivity meet, profit increases as well. And so I'm all about my clients working smart and profiting smarter. But here at Cayden Cay Consulting, the company that I own, we are knowledge diversification experts. So we help service-based professionals win back their time and energy by applying our proven diversification principles, which results in multiple streams of income. And so how? By creating a profitable framework that is used to structure the company's blueprint, which will help you capitalize off of your intellectual property. And so we're all about creating the business model that is in alignment with your lifestyle and desires that you have. So that's what we do here.
That's beautiful. So, Bianca, talk to us about your journey into entrepreneurship. What kickstarted you starting this amazing operational firm and all of the cool things you have going on right now?
So this is actually my third business. I believe in not practicing on the business that you really want. You have to learn how to be in business and to run a business first. And so when you start on the one that you really want, it's really hard. And so you get discouraged and then you feel like, entrepreneurship isn't for you. But I started my entrepreneur journey my freshman year in college as I started my own dog walking business one summer. I had a cute little toy poodle. And so I had to work. And so I needed somebody to walk my dog and no one could walk the dogs. And I was living in a predominantly dog community. And so I was like, well, if other people are having this problem, like I'm having it too. So just one brilliant idea. I told my mom that's what I wanted to do. I went to Staples, got some paper. She made me some flyers at her job. I caught the bus to her job, made the flyers, and me and my two friends walked around with our dogs. And we were just passing out flyers. And within an hour, I received calls, and that summer I made $5,000 just from walking dogs, but I wasn't clear about what type of dogs. I wanted cute little toy poodles. I was getting Doberman pictures and Rottweilers, and I was walking them 5 times a day. It was the same price, and I was feeding them different stuff, and it was just a lot, but I wasn't clear on how to run a business and how to price it accordingly, but I was very clear about how to make the money. So I knew that I kind of had that. And in my corporate job, I was a business and project manager of an engineer firm. And so when I quit that 8 years ago, I started a bookkeeping company. Bookkeeping, I hated with a passion, but it was something that I was really good in. It was the last major project I was working on at my job. I had the QuickBooks Pro certifications. And so every 9 out of 10 businesses that you walk in, their back of house is horrible. And so I knew that that was my end to kind of learn business, how to turn a one-time client into a repeat client, how to upsell, how to cross-sell, how to even do my own books based on a client and how to really run a business. So that's the business that I started. But the business that you start doesn't have to be the business that you keep. And so I understood that. And so I phased out that in 2 years. And then I became like a 6-figure job lady. Like I was doing resumes and cover letters and mock interviews, but I hated that too, but I was good at that. And so it kind of led me to this. I, in essence, have become my old job, and that's what I wanted to do from the beginning, but I didn't have seats. I didn't have any testimonials. I didn't have anybody backing me up. Like I didn't have anything, but I used all of that experience from those other 2 businesses to build this operational firm that I have. And so I've been in full-time entrepreneurship for 8 years, but I've had this operational management firm this way that we do it for 5 years. But those 3.5, 4 was trial and error.
I love that. So let's talk about scaling because we're both really active online, and I feel like scaling is the new buzzword. People don't really know what it means. So could you please define for the people what is scaling? And everyone, while Bianca is talking, drop your questions for her in the chat.
I think that's a good question because everybody wants to scale, but I tell 9 out of 10 people, you're not even growing. So how are you ready to scale if you're not even growing? And I think that is just the buzzword. And for me, as a coach doing traditional coaching and consulting, you can't scale because that's still your time that you have to give. And it's only so many hours in the day. Even if you hire people, it's still so many hours in the day. And so for me, scaling means that I am making more money, working less, but I'm getting my time back. That's what scaling means for me and my clients. Let's make more money. Let's put some more system processes in place so that you can really get the life that you thought you had in your head before you actually started this business. But what scaled my business wasn't coaching, consulting, project management, government clients. It was really digital products that scaled my business, which continues to scale it to that multiple 6-figure mark. But it was those digital products that scaled my business.
Yeah. So can you define for us, because I think, when we think about the service side, some things that help is definitely the right systems, the right SOPs, and that ties into coaching your team, right? Because you can't have employees if you don't have any SOPs. So can you define what these things are and why businesses need them?
Yeah, I think SOPs are really important. And right now we're in that stage. I just hired a full-time client success manager. And so I've been training her for the past 2 months. So every new thing that we come up with, we write it out. I'm like, okay, put that in. That's an SOP. And so we've been actively making these SOPs because I'm planning to hire more people and to promote her. But if before I promote her, I need somebody to do the job that she's already doing. And so those standard operating procedures are really just you taking the intellectual property out of your head and how you do it and putting it on paper to train somebody else. And I think people make it so complicated, but it's really just the steps from beginning to end, how you actually get the job done. What's that step one, step two, processes and procedures? Because when you run your business and you start off, you're really all people in your business. You are the CEO, but then you still have to do the human resources, the administrative part. Sometimes you're IT, sometimes you're the janitor, sometimes you're the caterer. Like, we're all those people. But when you start to think about, you can't grow when it's just you. And also, me knowing that it's just you is a liability. And I think that we as entrepreneurs, we take pride in it just being us, and we work so hard. But that's a liability, because companies that are looking to work with you, what if you get sick? What if something happens? And so most of you guys know my story about my son. He's 3 now, but the first 2 years of his life, like, he was in and out of brain surgery. So you knowing that it's just me and I'm in a hospital and my son is sick. Okay, I paid you to do the work. When is it going to get done? And so that's a liability too. And so you having a team and handle those standard operating procedures in, even if it's your mom or your dad that has to come in to help you, those standard operating procedures are really important so that they can pick up where you left off. And just to be very transparent, I didn't have those 3 years ago because it was just me. And so I know what I'm doing, but my son being in the hospital really made me reposition my business model and kind of think of things differently, because I still want this business to run and I still need to make the type of money that I can make. So how can I make it not being present, but present? And so systems and SOPs kind of save that.
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned before is that the thing that's really helps you scale is the digital products. So what type of systems do we need to have in place, or something else we need to have in place, in order to start scaling our service-based businesses the same way you did?
So that's a good question. So I'm all about having the service, but also the product for the service. Because if you want Bianca to do it, it's a different type of fee. But if you just want to learn how to do it, it's a digital course, training, or masterclass that I've put together for you to DIY it on your own. Some people are really good with DIY. Some people, you just give them the steps and then they can implement it. Well, if you're that type of learner, let me make these digital products that don't require my time, but that one time to kind of grow it. So I think first you have to know, what are the core things that people come to you for? Like, what are those? And so our core bucket is business development, project management, and business consulting. And so those are our 3 buckets in our operational management firm. And so now you got to break it down. What does business consulting look like? Well, it looks like you obtaining more clients, getting more sales, putting systems in place, stream diversification. From project management, we do a lot of launches. So Facebook group launches, membership launches, course launches. Well, do I want to make a course for that? Do I want to make a masterclass for that? Do I want to make a membership for that? Do I want to make a challenge for that? Like, how can I give these people the same value at a lower scale? So I think first you need a digital product system. So we use Gumroad, Gumroad. They're also a client of mine, but I was a client of theirs before they were a client of mine. But that's where we house our digital products. You can get on a Google meeting like this and record the information, put the slideshow up just like Kyshira did, and that can be your digital product. Make a worksheet to go with it, and then put it on a digital product software. We record our calls and we record our training. So that could be a digital product podcast style. Just speaking it into your phone, making a worksheet. A lot of people don't want to do digital because they don't want to be cute all the time. You don't have to be cute. Just record it in your phone and record it on the system, make a worksheet and go that way. But I think the most thing that people don't understand about digital product is they are lower tier. So you have to push them out in volume. And so that's when your social media is important. I heard you talk about Google Ads. That's when Google Ads is important. Those different touch money focal points that you need, because you can't get rich or make the type of money you want to make off of a $19 product. Like, however, if you put systems in place to broaden your reach, like this training that I'm so happy that Kyshira let me do, I'm touching more people. And so therefore more people are buying into me and we're building that like, know, and trust. And so you're not going to go from here to spending $5,000, but you might buy a $59 training. You might buy a $99 training to kind of build up to that. So those digital products are really good to kind of build that like, know, and trust in your passive cash flow.
Yeah. So one thing about you, Bianca, that I really appreciate whenever I listen to you speak, you have results. Like you have receipts, you got examples, you got case studies, you got stuff I didn't even think about. So how can you help our new entrepreneurs with the business model piece? Like at what point is it appropriate for them to begin to expand and diversify? Or can they do that right away? If so, like what do they need to do that?
That's a good question. And so I wish I would have did it when I first started, because it's so hard when you're making a bigger type, a higher type of dollar to be like, okay, let me make a $19 product. You like, I already make $2,000. Like, why am I trying to make a $19 product? So if I would have thought about it first, I would have started with my lower tier products first, because everyone doesn't have the 2,000, the 5, the 10, but everybody has $19. Everybody has that $99. And so if I would have thought first, like, let me make some digital products first instead of making everything free, because we've been trying to give free, and I'm okay with free, but I'm free with a purpose. So let me do a free training, but then attach it to a webinar so that they can sign up for it, so I can get their email list, and then I can upsell to them in the future. And so I'm really big on what is free and what is paid. And so if I would have knew that early on, I would have started my lower tier products first, and from lower tier upsold those clients who have bought into me on something higher tier. But as a traditional coach, consultant, and project manager, we start off with higher tiers and don't think about that low hanging fruit. But I would have been scaled my business a long time ago if I would have kind of repositioned my mindset. So you should definitely think about stream diversification now. And so that's what I'm all about. Like, what is your area of genius? Okay, now let's think about the 7 different ways that we could kind of break this up so that you can make some money over here, over here. Most people think you need 7 sources of income, and that's 7 different businesses. You need 7 streams. So you need one business that has 7 different things underneath it so that you can upsell and cross-sell those products and services to different clients. And so we're really big about that. So I think that you should think about now, what type of lifestyle do I want? Do you want to run your business from your phone? Do you want to be, in Bora Bora on a yacht, and you recording video content on the beach for your new course that's coming up, in Q4, and we're planning out that content? Like, what type of business do you want? Or do you like being on the phone? I don't like being on the phone anymore. I don't like trading time for money anymore. We're more project based. And I just want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So I didn't understand that though. Until year 5. So I want you to understand that now. I don't want it to take 5 years for you to figure it out. That's why I'm really big about talking about what type of lifestyle do you want to then go backward. We go from forward to backwards, but you need to go from back to front. Think about that 5-year and that 10-year plan, and then move backwards. Like, what does that look like for you? And so I think you should definitely start thinking about your stream diversification now. I can't hear. Let me see.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh.
So you mentioned how we're trained to give content information for free, and I completely agree. Do you think it's possible to offer a digital product and build a business without following the model of offering free weekly content, such as a blog post or YouTube?
So yes and no. So I do, that's a good question. I do Wednesday free training all of the time. I do a Wednesday free lunch and learn every day at 1:00. That is free on all of my social media platforms. And so I'm really big about building it because I believe in education collateral. People have to know, like, and trust you and buy into you before they buy absolutely positively anything. So I feel like you should have collateral out. And so that Wednesday training is my gift. Anything outside of that Wednesday training, it's a cost for that. So I think that you should put free products out, but also have the call to action attached to it. Like, why are you doing the blog post? What's the call to action that goes with that blog post? Like, why are you giving out these emails? Like, what's the call to action that go with that? So that's all about thinking from back to front, not front to back. A lot of us just think about the freebie. Well, what goes with this freebie? Why are you doing the free? What's the money that's attached to it? So I think that you should do the YouTube and the blogs, because I do that too. But I'm very clear about that's my give that I do once a week, and it's attached to something bigger than just that.
Any tips on training your staff and ensuring they respect your intellectual property?
So I'm not sure that I really understand the question, because as staff, they have to respect it because they work for you anyway. And so you wouldn't be working here if that was the case. So I think that if you could ask it differently, I can give a better explanation on it, because I'm not well versed in the way that you typed it. So if you could retype it again so I can give a better answer.
Or just come off a mute if you want to. And while you're figuring that out, one initial thing that comes to mind, you guys, is making sure you have your paperwork, get them NDAs and those contracts.
Yes.
That's
be slow to hire. Like, I'm very slow to hire. Like, you can be on a probation period for 60 days with me. I'm gonna pay you every week, but you're not an official employee. Like, I give project-based work. Like, let me see how you operate. Let me see your day-to-day work ethic. And then if it goes well, we can hire. But I'm very slow to hire.
So she's saying, how do you make sure the staff doesn't steal your product info and become a competitor?
Oh, so that's a non-compete.
Yeah.
Right. So those non-competes and those contracts that you put into place. And so I would recommend, I have a lawyer that I work with that kind of does all of those things, but also checking in too. Like, I am all for helping you become the person that you envision in your notebook and your dreams. I don't want you to be with me forever. Like, I want to help give you those tools for you to go, and do what you desire. If you desire to work for me full-time and be a full-time employee, I'm all for that. But if you have aspirations to be an entrepreneur, I'm all for having those conversations and helping you build that in a plan that's in alignment, that works both for both of us. But I'm not helping you to become my competitor. It got to be something totally different than what we're doing. I'm not helping you build your own operational management firm on my dime. Like, I'm not helping you do that. But if you have other entrepreneurial aspirations, I'm very open to helping you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions for Bianca? Anyone need to come off a mute to ask their question?
Right, because I know that'll be me. Like, I got a question, but I don't feel like typing all of this. So,
yeah, same. So
that'd be me. Yeah.
Don't be shy, y'all. Look, Bianca's time is costly, so take advantage. So, Bianca, while we're waiting on more questions, one question we get in a lot of our webinars for our speakers is, what does a day in your life look like? Like, what is Bianca's calendar that's on the whiteboard? Because I'm nosy and watch her IG stories. What's on the whiteboard? What's today looking like?
Well, that's a good question. I don't do everything every day. I'm a project manager, so I'm very systematized and very compartmentalized about how I operate. And so on Mondays, most people hate Mondays. We love Mondays here, but most people hate Mondays. And so since I know that, I'm not trying to talk on the phone or email anybody on Mondays, because I know that they feel some type of way on Mondays. So we use Mondays for professional development day. So any trainings that I bought, books, I'm always reading. A quick little nerd. I am a nerd. So a quick little nerd fact about me is that I am a skim reader. So I read about 6 books a month. And so I can read up to like 800 words a minute. And so that's one of the like fun quirk facts about me. But I watch courses, training, reading. I'm currently reading, I'll show you, The Mindset of a Sales Warrior by Jason Forrest. I'm reading this now. Consulting Essentials. Like, I'm reading these 2 books now, but that's usually Monday. Tuesday is client meetings. And so I meet with all of my corporate clients and all of my government clients, because we do government contracting and procurement. So I meet with them on Tuesday. Wednesday, I meet with my project launches clients. And then on Thursday, we do more, team building. And then Friday is kind of interviews, podcasts, blog posts. We record content. So each day is different. I believe in working on analytical stuff one day and creative stuff another day. Like, it's really hard to go from typing a 300-page RFP to now let me think about what I want to put on my social media. So I'm very compartmentalized on how I operate.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Any tips for realtors who are trying to figure out how to scale?
So that's not my area of expertise. I do have a couple clients who are realtors, and so they're putting like, I just have a new one. And so we're making her a Facebook group because she's teaching new real estate agents how to go into that luxury market. And so since we're going into the luxury market, and she is one of the realtors that's in like the top 5 percentile, a lot of agents want to do that. And so we're making a Facebook group for her hub for all of those agents to come. And then we do a monthly masterclass, and then we upsell them on a course or a training that teaches that level of intellectual property. And so I think that you can definitely make some courses and classes and training to train other people who are like you and who have kind of passed that mark. But also for new ones, I would go where the money is first. Like, go from back to front. Like, start in the $1 million house mark. Like, go there first. Learn from those particular agents first, so all of your work won't be for a small commission check. Like, I will go for the big dollar first and then kind of work my way back so that I can make the type of money that I want to make based on the effort that I put in.
Yeah, and watch $1 Million Listing, because they always making
big. Oh, and Selling Sunset. Do you watch Selling Sunset?
Yes.
It starts actually today.
I'm like, they got me wanting to do a career change. Okay, let's start a firm, Bianca. Let's just get into it.
Oh, you know, I'm all with it. That's me all day, looking at expensive stuff, driving nice cars, talking to people with some money and putting them in luxury.
Oh, right. I love that.
Okay, so we could do you since you was brave enough to ask. So you went from the freebie, which is the catch-all. So that's list building and building a like, know, and trust. And then from there, they go to hopefully a paid ebook. And so once they get into the ebook, now one stream could be one-on-one coaching, another one could be group coaching, another one could be courses and classes, another one could be speaking, another one could be training and facilitating, another one could be a government contract and corporate contracts. Government contracts would be that you get certified and get your MBE, which is Minority Business Enterprise. WBE could be Woman Business Enterprise. So WBE, MBE, BEP, which is Business Enterprise, DEB, you're Black, so you're already disadvantaged. So that gives you the DBE certification as well. And so you can go into these corporations and help their employees learn how to eat better so that they can get a better quality of life, which would be your spend on it, but that's a government check. But then corporations too, teaching the employees how to have that work-life balance and how to have more energy at work could be a training that you do, and then a meal plan that you do for, which can be corporate. So you can do corporate money, you can do government money, you could do training and speaking money, you could do courses, you could do classes, you could do VIP days, you could do group coaching, you could do one-on-one coaching, and you could do standalone coaching. I think that's about 8.
The bonus stream starts selling those prepackaged meal plans to personal trainers who don't want to do
meal plans. And so when you think about who's your collaboration, when you think about, you always want to think kind of, who can I partner with to help ignite the fire within my business? So who would need your services that already have those clients that don't offer what you offer, which would be that added bonus? So who do you need to partner with in order for them to offer what they offer? And then they can put your services in as well. So they can do the marketing and the talking for you. And all you have to do is provide the service.
Do you have any suggestions on how to create your own systems, workflows, or frameworks, either for clients or employees? And then any other book suggestions?
Yeah, so that's what we do here. First, you have to kind of figure out what's the end goal. I'm all about what's the money that's attached to it. Like, once you figure out how much money you want to make from the actual stream, it determines how much work you're willing to put in it and what's the systems and processes that you want to add into it. And so some clients just have like a stream of income that they develop to send their kids. It's a private school, right? That one stream doesn't pay all of their bills, but it kind of pays that. And so what's the framework for that can be what system do you need? What's the SOPs? And what do you want the client to do? I'm all about funnels and making the system talk. So what's that money focal point? How do they get in? How do they get that customer service interaction? And then how do you offboard them at the end? The offboarding is the most important. 70% of my clientele is repeat clientele because I offboard really well. I know what program we just finished the 5K glow up. So that's for people that don't make a consistent $5,000 a month in their business. So now that we just finished it, sales and strategy is next. Well, they were in that program, so they get a discount on another program. And so I'm funneling them into that. Once they finish with that, it's another program. So I'm all about funneling people into other programs and kind of having that workflow for the year. I know what I'm doing for the whole year. So I don't wing it every month. Like, we have a real plan for the year of what we're going to do. So our products and services, they talk to each other. You start here, you need that. These are some options. And so I think you first got to think about what's the plan for the overall year and how does that make sense for your organization and what money The money is the most important. What money is attached to it? Like, how much effort are you going to put in it to make the money? And then what's that human capital? Like, we always think about money capital. What's the human capital? How many people do you need? Like, what system do you need? How many hours are you willing to give? Like, the human capital, I think, is more important than the money capital. Like, are you willing to give what it takes to get the type of results that you want? Are you willing to spend the type of money that you need to get the results that you want to obtain the human capital? And so I'm kind of really big on that. So once you kind of plan out your year, then you kind of go backwards to figure out what system you need, what process you need, what SOP, what contracts. And so we do that at the beginning. We do that in Q4. Our Q4 is all about planning Q1. And so we're about to ramp up and kind of go into that. So I think that you should kind of start that there first.
Okay, we'll have one more question before we wrap up. How does someone find out more about potential government contracts?
So I think that's a good question. I get that question a lot. So I don't teach government. I teach corporate contracting because that's easier check to get than government procurement, because you have to be certified in order for you to even be in the running. You can get government contracts without being certified, but they're very slim to none. And so you have to be certified, and that's a 3 to 6 month process right there. And then you still have to politic and meet the people, talk to the people, do the RFP. So it's a long journey for that. But based on where you live, or just Google like WBE certifications or MBE certifications, like in your city, most of them have free trainings. Like before COVID, they have free trainings every week at find out like your city. Like I live in Chicago, so it's the city of Chicago, Cook County, Illinois building. And so we kind of go there to get the trainings, but familiarize yourself with the documents first and figure out what you have. Don't get discouraged by what you don't have, because to start off, you need 3 years of business taxes. Well, you might only been in business for one and say, hey, I only been in business for one, but here's my 1 year business tax returns, but here's 2 years of my personal. And so don't get discouraged by what you don't have. You just need to say that you don't have it, and this is the reason why you don't have it. But one of my clients, she does it, Tiffany Latoy. She's really big, and she was one. Didn't you interview her too?
Yep.
Yeah, she was one of the past people that Kyshira interviewed as well. Her name is Tiffany Latoy. She does government contracts. So if you send me a message on Instagram, Bianca S. Robinson, I can send you Tiffany's. It's right there. I could introduce you to Tiffany so she can help you with that.
Yeah. Well, Bianca, before we wrap up, where can we find you online? What do you have coming up? How do we stay in touch?
So I'm doing a free training actually on August the 14th at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time to talk about the 5 components you need to have a winning sales strategy. And so if you go to bit.ly CCC sales training, you can get in on that free training that we're doing where I talk about sales. If you would like to book a session with me, we do 15-minute free get acquainted sessions. It's not a strategy session, but it's really for us to see where you are and what products and services we have to help you. You can schedule a 15-minute free session with me. Is bit.ly /LGA call. So let's get acquainted call. And you can schedule a 15-minute session with me. But just follow me on my Instagram. I'm really active on my Instagram. I answer all of my DMs. And so if you follow me on Instagram at Bianca S. Robinson, I'll definitely answer your questions, comments, and concerns.
Thank you so much, Bianca. You are amazing per usual. This replay will be sent to everyone in a couple weeks. We do have to get the sessions edited, so just hold tight for the replay. That will be coming soon. With that, you all have an amazing rest of your day. Don't forget to do our survey. Select Pittsburgh Coach when you're doing the survey. And with that, have an amazing day. We'll talk to you. Bye.